Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Take Fightcast. Trevor and Dylan here, back in your ears or your eyes if you're watching on YouTube. And today we're going to be talking about the last week's UFC card a little bit, but we're mainly here to talk about Conflict 51. I don't know if they're going to be using the official determination, but it's Conflict Ladies Night, the first ever in South Carolina's history, at least, all-female main card for a fight night. So we're super excited about it. Lots of friends of the show on this one. Especially Charleston Muay Thai people. But first, let's talk about the UFC this past week. Oh my goodness. We just rewatched some of the fights because Trevor was hosting a seminar down in Ashland, Virginia, I should say. Yeah. And he missed the fights, so we rewatched them here. First of all,
as the great poet Eminem once said, knees weak, arms are heavy, palms are sweaty.
Yes.
Looks like my sweater, mom's spaghetti.
Yes.
I did throw up a little bit out of out of my heart, but no, amazing fights. My palms were still sweating from the Nate Landwehr fight. That was wild. I had to go back and know, I did watch the co-main and the main, because that's what a lot of people, but the main event shut out, I guess, the co-main.
Yeah.
I mean, it did. The co-main was amazing, but that's, oh God, that was Thunderdome.
Do you want to start with Landwehr versus
Let's
Odonnell?
talk about that a little bit.
All right.
Let's not go too much.
So, Nathan Landwehr versus, is it David Odama?
Onama.
They both
Glory.
Yeah, he's a Glory fighter.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of his previous kickboxing affairs?
A little bit.
Just as highlights or whatever?
Just highlights.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that he's got 10 wins in MMA. So he's making, I think this is his UFC debut.
No, he got a couple fights in the UFC.
He's had a couple of fights already in the UFC? Okay. Good fight though.
Great fight.
For it to be the co-main event of a fight with two of the best bantamweights on the planet.
I think when they matched that fight, they were not expecting that to happen.
Maybe
they were. I don't know.
Maybe they weren't expecting that to necessarily be the case.
I thought that something to point out was Onama showing a new level of heart that he didn't know, because you could hear them talking about his interesting commentary in between, where I think even James Krause knows that he's a first round fighter. Because that's a hard thing.
Yeah, he almost passed out on the stool.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean,
he was delirious.
But
the guys that are used to, you're used to fighting at 2 or 3 minutes, and then you get into a 5-minute round. That's a hard habit to create. Gokhan Saki is someone that famously had a hard time with 5 minutes of it being a fight. A lot of grapplers are used to 5-minute competition rounds in jiu-jitsu, so you can see James Krause going do you want to be in this fight? And he's kind of just man, not really, but I still got to do this.
Yeah, this is his fourth fight with the UFC.
Yeah, fourth fight. You can see that he did grow a lot in that fight, but Nate Landwehr just showed that he was the crazier dog in the fight. I was very impressed with his chain wrestling. Nate Landwehr did a great job of not always over-committing to a certain body lock position or a certain double or single, but he was always into different positions, and that's what really changed the pace of that fight. So he used his chain wrestling so he could get back to some pitter-patter, and I'll say this, Nate Landwehr looked like Colby Covington grew up in a trailer park, but with just a bigger dog in him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he was a dog.
The way that he started to sit back and pepper shots, but then did a lot of upper body entries, then would snap down to singles and doubles, then break off, then go to body lock, and he was constantly taking Onama to positions that he couldn't be comfortable in. He managed to take the pace from, holy shit, I think I was knocked out, thank God he hit me and woke me up, which was I stood up, even though I knew it was it was recorded.
Yeah, it wasn't live.
It happened so fast. I was like, "Oh shit!" And the dogs jumped.
I mean, he literally was face down.
Yeah,
and done.
It was amazing.
It was pretty crazy how
the ref was over top of it, and I think he just saw him come back to it enough, and he went, "Okay." I mean, Nate Landwehr has a habit of getting hit coming back into fights.
Yep.
Also has a habit of getting hit and going out. So I think the ref made the good call, saying fuck it.
It was just one of those fights where it's you can tell both guys are hurt, both guys are tired, but that's part of what makes it tense and interesting.
It is, yeah.
It's the idea that either one of them, especially Onama coming back in that third round, and landing big shots,
and that was a movie. I was sitting there going this fight feels like it was way longer than 15 minutes because there was so much going on. It felt like a movie kind of if like that final fight in Warrior played out for like an hour and a half. Like that's what this fight felt like. It was wild. Like I kind of think that if people have missed that fight, they definitely need to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
that is a fight. Like if you missed it, like you should be kicking yourself in the ass because I can tell I missed some great fights.
Yeah, I remember the last time I felt like that on edge during the third round of a fight was like Gaethje versus Poirier.
Oh yeah,
that fight was insanely intense.
Yeah. Then the main event.
The main event: Chito Vera versus Dominick Cruz. Dominick Cruz coming off of that big performance against Pedro, and Vera on a surging path. And now I think it's safe to say, we were talking about it when we were watching the fight. He's in the mix.
Yes,
he's in that title mix now. And he had a great performance against Dominick Cruz. You notated something very interesting about the footwork of Cruz and just kind of you had an interesting musing about footwork in general. So.
Well, yeah, I mean Dominick Cruz, he wrote the book for like that neo footwork you see in MMA now about the constant switch hitting, constantly stepping with your strikes. But you see someone like Chito Vera who managed to beat the most complicated striking game for that weight class with simple fundamentals, with jabs and crosses, with basic switch hitting on the outside. And it showed where Chito Vera is like in this new breed of bantamweights that Cruz just can't get comfortable with right now, where his normal stepping through on every punch to make the angle and create power, because he can't really explode into power, but he will step off and strike through. They were just kind of bouncing off of Chito the whole fight. Like, it looked like the airplanes firing at King Kong on top of the New York skyscraper, but instead he just can step out on some steel beams and get the fuck back in there, man. Like, he cut Dominick Cruz in half with not like a spear, but with like just boom, building these 2x4s in between them, man. He just shot his jabs and crosses like
he missed on the setup of the same kick that he landed the knockout with. He missed on in the second round.
Well, but what you have to do is you have to control the tighter punching space, because like he knew he just had to get his head outside of. He knew that if he kept going here, the tighter he stayed, the heavier Dominick would try to juke off, especially. Right. And like when I said it was like watching a spider put a bird into the web, because like he would use that cage as that point in time where he's like, okay, like he can make the quicker, smaller steps in the first rounds. But then as the fight went on, then he would get more dramatic, and then it became okay. He knew he didn't break his tempo at all. And he walked him into that cage, and then he was like, oh, there it is. I mean, you saw my reaction when I saw it happen. I knew how the fight finished, but he set it up perfectly, and it was just the same thing each time. He forced Dominick just outside. Yeah. Dominick does so much outside to find his best strikes in the middle. And Dominick knew like he had to come out so aggressively that like he couldn't do anything patiently in front. Because that's where Chito was
never really seen Dominick like that.
Except
for that Mitsugaki fight, maybe.
Like it was exactly.
You could say that maybe he came out that hard against Mitsugaki, but I think he just found a good shot.
That was him, young and full of it, just really wanted.
Well, also he did exactly what you said that he likes to do, but he did it very effectively. That was a shot where he stepped out, and Mitsugaki also happened to be stepping in the same direction, and he came with that looping punch, and he hit it at the very end of it.
Yeah,
and it was just like a perfect execution.
He throws a lot of European punches, where a lot of European boxers will just, like, they know a punch is just your two knuckles landing. So instead of Dominick always trying to fire here, he'll make a person pull off and then step into his straight line punches, and that was just perfect timing. Yeah.
But in this fight, he actually was forcing the issue.
How he came out just so aggressive with those combinations in front. It changed a lot of levels. I mean, he looked like a whole new fighter.
He was also leg kicking a lot, trying to take away Chito's power.
Yeah.
Which was a good strategy.
Great strategy. The most aggressive Cruz I've ever seen, and it was really funny to watch. It's like, wow, it's like I'm watching Dominick Cruz, but then the Dominick Cruz of old came out in that third and fourth as his evasive counter-striking, and Chito didn't change his tempo at all.
The Dominick Cruz that Chito game planned for came out in the third round.
Well, he knew he had to pull that out. Yeah. I think because we saw evolution in Dominick Cruz where he can sit down and fire in front of somebody. You know?
Or rush them down.
And
he was rushing Chito down.
But Chito, it's like Chito and Jason Perillo.
If you can't get him out of there, you can't get him out of there.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people in that top 7 above Cruz going into this fight, Cruz was 8 going into this fight, I think a lot of people in that top 7 would have given him the same issue. As in, he can't get him out of there with strikes, and then eventually his movement becomes not only slowed but more predictable. And he also has an instinct that popped up for me in the Cody fight, probably the biggest reason why he lost the Cody fight, and it came back up in this fight, which is when he gets hurt, he really likes to come forward. He likes to come forward and try to get you back. Almost like, in this fight, it worked out the first 2 times.
Yes.
But Chito set up that jab, and even though Dominick was a little bit gun-shy about trying to get him, he was opening up for more and more shots that eventually led to him needing to be, I need to exit right now to the right, and the cage is behind me.
And the one thing that Chito did that no one else has done, because no one has really driven home their fundamentals of pure boxing, like Chito has clearly shown in this fight, where like what he did in that fight was the most fundamental, like, and this is a fundamental to me, and a fundamental you see to a lot of like coaches that like communication between their fighters. They like to know how many options their fighter has in a given space. And I made the analogy of, and I made it in the Similarist Weekend, I make it in my class, where I reference like each fighter, like the way a coach should look at a fighter, how I kind of look at it is, you have your own little square underneath that fighter. And it's kind of like those little Sims games where you can drag and click those people, but that square is underneath your lead foot.
Right.
So some guys inside this given square can only take one step at a time. And those are the guys that lose to Cruz. Chito can take 100 million fucking steps inside this box. And it, like, the box is this big, but man, his lead foot didn't stop moving. Like, you saw how much Dominick Cruz moves his whole body. You see how little Vera moves his body. But technically, it's non-stop. You just see Dominick always moving big steps. You saw Chito's lead foot inside that little square. It never stopped moving. And so when you see a tight base like that, each step has an option. He's also not stationary on punches. And that's also why he can absorb those shots. Because he knew that he was the bigger guy. He knew that he was the tougher, you know.
He's big.
He's so goddamn big. And it really
showed 135,
he's
humongo.
And so he knew that Cruz, even in throwing his best shot, Vera was never loaded. He, like, your defense should always be mobile, never stationary. It's when guys will sit still for a split second is when they still eat 150% of Cruz. However, Vera kind of ate like 60%. Even on his, like, those were Dominick's most settled, hardest shots he's ever thrown. But was Vera ever still on those combinations? Nope. No. And that's that rolling with the punches.
And some of them landed square on the chin, though.
And that is that rolling with the punches, which is what creates a champion.
Right.
You know,
100%.
The people that get caught up in that, which Cruz has been doing for over a decade now, is getting people caught up in that space that they freak out and they step the wrong way. And Cruz makes them work that hard shot for him. You know, your best shot is always when you get that person to sit still. Vera never stopped moving. And every time he was touched, he was like, okay, cool. And you saw he was inside that jab. Boom. Everything in and on him. He beat him with the most fundamental boxing, and it's very similar to the evolution of Usman at 170, with how he uses the jab and the cross and constant steps and basic switch hitting to help shut down people.
I would say that Cruz for MMA, or not Cruz, Vera for MMA is a better pound for pound, hit for hit boxer.
Oh, 100%.
But Cody was the person who exposed Dominick's problem against fundamental boxing.
Yes.
On the mitts, Cody looks better. Like, boxing, for boxing's sake, Cody has very nice boxing technique.
Yeah.
But within the context of MMA, Chito is a better boxer.
So much. Like, he looks like someone that's been boxing his entire life. I could see
in his approach that he looked to do the same thing Cody did, with the exception of one thing, is Cruz in the Cody fight was constantly put into a position where Cody was standing in the center of the cage, and Cruz was trying to retake it, especially after he got hurt the first time. Once he got hurt the first time, he started really running forward at Cody. But what Vera does is he can take it a step further. He can take Dominick's back and turn it to the cage, and he can rock forward and pressure him without really giving a shit about the shots.
And his consistency of constantly moving, Cruz couldn't get comfortable at all.
Right.
He would use those bigger exchanges to try and get him to sit still, because that's when Cruz can just download were to hit somebody,
he
didn't have a chance to download. If like the way you look at it, that's
he
how
was the one getting downloaded.
He was getting downloaded.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was his game plan,
and it was.
I think the game plan was to do less of that because when you sit back and try to do that against somebody like Chito, you just get put to sleep earlier.
And that's kind of like how you saw him beat Rob Font.
Yeah,
was just like always finding the better strike.
And you were
all
talking
the strikes, but always finding the better strikes.
And dude, that knockout. Before we move on and talk about the future of both these guys, the knockout was insanely brutal.
But you saw
Dominick went this way, and his nose went that way. Like it was fucking so hard to watch.
Yeah, that like even I thought it was one of the best setup knockouts I've ever seen, but. And it just sucks that it was the Dominick Cruz, but like that's what you have to do to beat the guy, man.
I mean, the Cejudo finish was like kind of tough because it was like a early stoppage, quote unquote.
Like you know what? Because
stoppage. And you're
could have
like,
gone either way. Like technically, the referee wasn't wrong,
and you know that Cruz is likely going to get finished if the referee allows it to continue.
Exactly. So that's why it's like the referee technically wasn't wrong for that stoppage. This one is like
the other end of the spectrum.
Homie was like, face down,
completely flatlined,
done.
Like to the point of like almost sheer unconscious. I think he shut down for a second, but as soon as they pulled, I think it was like the same thing as the Onama fight. He woke him up by hitting him, when he was down.
Well, you saw that Cruz, like when he was up on his feet, there's a moment of like he's looking at the floor, going like, "Why am I at the beach?" Like, and then he's like, all of a sudden he's like,
and his nose crazy.
Like, oh, dude, he could barely talk, but it was like you saw him slowly coming back.
But you said during this fight that this version of Cruz. This aggressive version of Cruz would fuck up Sean O'Malley.
Yeah, but after getting hit like that, I don't want to see him get. I
don't want to see him get shot anymore.
Well, no, that's just because of like the damage that does to a person at that point of their career. Yeah. It's like that's
and
the
I
one
think Sean.
Now that's like the kind of the one where it's like, oh, I think that took away his chances of beating Sean O'Malley,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the Dominick Cruz that showed up in rounds 1 and 2 and could coast like that in the third. I think that Dominick Cruz would beat a Sean O'Malley in a co-main event.
I was going to say, if this would have been 3 rounds, it would have been Cruz. But Chito had that fucking 5-round game plan and knocks him out in the 4th round.
But and that was the beauty thing of the small steps. Like where he was more prepared for the 5-round fight than Dominick Cruz, which is a wild thing to think about, but that's how much the sport evolved.
Yeah. Aldo's going to fight TJ.
Yeah.
It seems like. So that would mean that Jan needs a dance partner.
Jan's fighting Sean O'Malley.
That's right. Oh, fuck, that's right.
Yeah, I was like, did you forget?
I did forget.
This freak show of a fight is happening?
I did forget. I have no idea why Jan would say yes to that unless he just thinks it's going to be so easy for him. I don't know about that one. We'll talk about that one when it's a little bit closer. Who do you put Vera up against next?
He's number 5, so...
You gotta think he's number 4 now. Or, who's number 4? Let's check it out.
You know he has to be pissed that O'Malley's fighting fucking Jan.
I guess. I mean, I think that Sean...
Ooh, what about Vera? Ooh, Vera Sandhagen.
That's who the other guy is at
Vera Sandhagen. Vera Sandhagen has to be
pretty good.
That has to be the one, yeah.
Man, Sandhagen... has been chewed up though, his last couple of outings out there have not been they've not exactly been walks in the park picnic type fights.
No, but I think he's what, number 4 or 3?
I can't find a fucking rank. I hate the way the UFC's website works because it doesn't just give you the rankings. Alright, here we go. Jose Aldo's number 3. Aldo versus Aldo's got to fight. Aldo's fighting Merab.
Oh, that's right.
That's very soon. Yeah. That's this Saturday, I think.
Ooh, Vera fights the winner of that fight, or Sandhagen.
Damn, we're not even gonna have time to talk about the upcoming UFC card because we gotta talk about Conflict. But I bet there's a.
Hey, you know what? To me, the Conflict card is more important than the UFC pay-per-view.
100%. Yeah.
I have no we'll be at Bobby Martin's wrestling match on Saturday, probably missing most of the main card, or most of the
Usman versus Edwards, Costa versus.
No, Rockhold. I like the main card. But I like the main card, like the
it doesn't start till 10, so we'll be good.
Oh yeah, so
Tyson Pedro coming back, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
As far as the prelims goes, you said there wasn't anything cool on here.
No, yeah, I like the main card, like the
you're kind of absolutely right. Our friend of the show, Miranda Maverick, is fighting on the opening bout of the prelims against Shayna Young. Should be a fucking easy tune-up fight for Miranda, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Let's see, Leonardo Santos versus Jared Gordon. That's a potential fun fight. Sometimes both of those guys end up in bangers. Early prelims, nothing crazy going on. Usman versus Leon Edwards. You want to talk about that real quick?
Dude, I think it's gonna be a repeat of the first one.
I think so too.
I think. I mean,
Kamaru's only gotten better on the feet.
Exactly. Like, Kamaru all around has gotten better. Leon Edwards is definitely a better version of himself.
He's only gotten better at the things he was already good at.
Exactly. Where Usman is becoming like a specialist.
Where the problem. Now, I will say that the Leon...
I think that we're going to see Leon show some interesting holes in Usman's like clinch game, short range game. Do I see that knocking him out? No. Do I see Usman getting rocked? Not rocked, but like I think we'd see his legs do a little wobble, and he goes, "Motherfucker, I'm gonna get you now." Maybe Leon can pull him into something.
Yeah.
But ultimately, man, I think that Usman is gonna fucking bully Leon Edwards, man.
It should go like that.
Like the way that he could still bully around fucking Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. I mean, he's seen it. He's seen everything between those two that Leon would have thrown at him. Except Leon just has a tighter knee elbow game. But that has him so open for body locks. And Usman has Usman has a good low takedown range. Like, I'm curious as to see where ankle picks, not just that, like, he's so good at wrestling that he barely tries to do double legs and he gets double legs.
And it happens, yeah.
And it happens. And I'm like, fuck, his wrestling is that good.
We didn't talk about the wrestling in the Cruz fight at all, but Cruz had some fucking awesome takedowns
in the
first 2 rounds.
Yeah, oh my god,
but
so
yeah,
good. But,
it's a very similar principle. Like Frankie Edgar was like that in his prime too, where he would like fake a jab and then touch people's legs and they would just...
like we could see some interesting things of like, you know, Leon presenting some frames, putting up some knees. Usman might shoot into like a knee feint or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, fighting is so 50-50 at any goddamn point, but this fight is still more of a like 80-20.
It's sort of a showcase fight for Kamaru. It should be
just to be like, your boy's still getting better.
I think they're pumping.
After this fight, Usman has to go fight like Jake Paul and retire.
After this fight, Kamaru goes and chills and waits. Then he goes to the Gucci store or wherever he likes to go to get custom fitted suits. He gets a custom fitted $10,000 suit. He buys cage side, or he gets the UFC to give him cage side tickets to Pereira versus Adesanya. If Adesanya wins, he's there to support his boy. He's there, but if Bahia wins,
Usman goes to 85.
Right, and he gets revenge for Africa. he gets revenge for Nigeria.
Slept.
Yeah, maybe. I think that he would absolutely maul Pereira.
I think it would look like. I mean, maybe could it? Yeah.
Pereira has been allowed. He has been given the fucking golden ticket and said, "We're going to let you."
It could be kind of
like
we're
gonna let you cut through this fucking top 10 in a way where you're not going to touch a single person who even wants to grab your neck.
You think Bahia Usman goes down like Jan Izzy?
Sort of,
but
Usman's smaller.
Scarier. Oh,
Usman's
so
smaller. And Usman's smaller, so I think we'll see the ankle picks.
Yeah,
I think.
But it's also like, man, there's a difference between like Usman.
What makes it interesting is the size difference, because if they're the same size, Usman fucks them up.
Experience and power, Usman will get touched by something he's never felt before, and here's the funny thing about fighting, especially in MMA, and this is what makes me curious when I see some fights. Like, Bahia has that thing.
He does have that thing.
He has that thing.
Whatever you want to call it.
You know, he has that dimmock.
Like, the same thing that Conor was able to channel during his prime.
Except this man made a career of it as a specialist.
He can access it anytime.
And I wonder how Usman responds to this dude's jab. It's amazing. You've seen it happen sometimes where guys get hit with the shot and just go, "Well, wow, it feels like I've been wrestling my whole life. What the fuck did I just get punched by?"
You remember the first exchange from McGregor versus Alvarez?
Yeah.
Where the jab 2 hits and Eddie's eyes just go, wait, what the fuck? He's like, did he just hit me with 2 punches?
He was like,
what were those super fast black blurs that flew by my face? Right, yeah. It's like, I remember the lead up to that fight in the press conferences, Eddie was like, Santa Claus isn't real. I'm going to show everybody that Santa Claus doesn't exist. And then that first punch hit, and it's like, Santa Claus is fucking real, buddy.
He's so fucking real. He's here to fuck my wife. Oh, no.
But that would be an awesome fight. I think that's what's next for Usman if that fight works out in his favor. And then, this fight also does. But if he doesn't, who is left at welterweight, really? You got to kind of wait for this to flesh out a little bit. So a move to 85 right now is good, but we know he's never fighting Izzy because Izzy said he's never fighting any African champion. So I think that Kamaru will be ringside for that fight. And I think if Izzy wins, they have a cool another championship belt picture together. Yeah. But if he doesn't win, Kamaru is right there, That makes sense. As crazy as that would be for 85, 85's been cleared out. Pereira versus any of those guys would be interesting. Yeah. But goddamn, let's get Kamaru in there. Like, Kamaru's dusted everybody at welterweight, especially if he melts Leon. If he goes through Leon and it looks easier than Masvidal, it's like, damn, this guy keeps getting better. Leon said that he feels that now's the best time to fight Usman because he feels that his body is starting to fail him. And I'm like, what would give you that impression? The fact that he broke his hand punching
Usman does talk about, like, he's gonna hang it up, like, when he knows that he's cleaned out the division. Like, he has talked about that. I don't think he's gonna retire in this fight. He wants to create generational wealth, but he talks about his knees all the time. Where he's like, and he's mentioned it before, where he's at training camps where he's like, I barely use these fucking things. Right. That's why he boxes so much. That's why he shoots like he does. He's that good, but like, dude, the
MCL tear versus the Viking kid.
He needs He needs 2 knee replacements, is what they talk about. But he's like, but I gotta still do this.
I'll do it later.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how wrestlers are, though. Oh, they're like, I'll do it later. Yeah, and his back has to be having plenty of wear and tear to compensate.
Shoutouts
to Kieran Shanahan out of Elevated MMA Academy. He won the fucking Toro Blue Belt Invitational with no ACLs in either leg. Yeah, just a guy who's been doing judo since he was like 4 or 5 years old. His dad, I think, is a world judo champ. Oh wow! So this is a guy who's no stranger to grappling, but he has that wrestler. He was a wrestler too. He has that wrestler-grappler mentality of like, I gotta get these fucking rounds in. I'll worry about these ACLs later or whatever. Yeah. And I'm sure Usman is the same way. Like you said, the way he wrestles, unless somebody else is on his level in wrestling, he doesn't really have to push himself in that department. So, I think as long as he continues to be the biggest guy at 170, unless somebody comes along like Colby that has a similar skill set that can make him push himself, he'll probably continue to just fight and not worry about those fucking knees. Yeah. Even if he tears them. That's just how wrestlers are built. But yeah, I think that him going up to fight Alex is a good idea if he feels the division is cleared out, and then maybe retire off of that or see what happens. Maybe he becomes double champ. But yeah, and then Paulo Costa looking absolutely shredded on the gram. Yeah. Have you seen how this guy looks right now?
It's kind of like a superhero toy action figure.
Looking a little Marvel-esque, honestly, against Luke Rockhold, who's coming off of a super long layoff and a couple of knockouts. Yeah. And not great knockouts either. Very bad, looking knockouts.
I'm not going to enjoy watching this fight, I think.
I think that I would love to see Rockhold go out there and beat the shit out of Paulo Costa. I also think that that's not going to happen.
I also think that
they're like, hey, Paulo, we want you to get your confidence back because ever since Israel bodied you, you haven't been the same. You've been getting fucking hair implants. You've been acting weird on social media. Let's get you a fight where you can get your fucking confidence back. We're going to let you knock out Luke Rockhold in 15 seconds. Yes. And then they got Paulo Costa back, and they can build him up for whatever.
Yeah, Paulo Costa's very good at punching over his shoulder, and Luke Rockhold's very good at standing straight the fuck up and getting hit.
Yep, he is very good at standing straight the fuck up and getting hit.
He athleted his way to a world title, but
he athleted his way to a number 1 contender spot. I just rewatched this fight because I was feeling a little nostalgic for the days of Luke Rockhold being a good fighter, and I watched a little bit of stuff on him, and he never went out of the first round. All of his fights were ended in the first round up until he fought Jacare. And right when he became number 1 contender, he had to sit out for a year and a half for knee surgery. I think it was 18 months. Mm-hmm. He sat out. He comes back and has a fucking 5-round brutal war with Jacare that I rewatched. And that was the fight where I was like, damn, this guy really can fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, he really can go. And he's so young looking in that fight. It's crazy compared to, like, now. But I just think that, man, this guy, his striking is super athletic, but he also has a good fight IQ. Like, a really good fight IQ for middleweight, too. His first fight against Bisping, his performance against Chris Weidman, where he won the belt, is one of the most vicious beatdowns I've ever seen in MMA history.
Very true.
Changed Chris Weidman's career forever. Yeah. Time just caught up with him. And he also took the wrong matchups.
Well, yeah, and it's not just that. It's when that athletic window runs out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping
that kind of
as the athleticism fades, you hope the fight IQ and the game planning goes up and the power stays so that you can continue to find
I think he only has fast twitch. He's a very fast twitch muscle white boy.
And in my opinion, the athleticism was fading by the time he fought Weidman because he had a very wrestling heavy approach to fighting Weidman. Well, I mean, Weidman kind of threw that legendarily bad spinning wheel kick and got himself taken down, and then he got fucked up in full mount. But he wasn't really trying to really out-athlete Chris Weidman, which not a lot of people can do.
Well, he had a really bad staph infection.
That's right. That's right.
Chris Weidman was giving him hell on wheels.
He hasn't really been the same since that staph infection.
No, he hasn't. Yeah, but that's also one of those things a
bad one can do that to you. It changed
a bad one will change your life. Yeah, well,
Randleman had that really super bad one, and it's never the same.
There's been plenty of times that staph infections have ended people's careers.
Yeah,
because your body just can't your body will just hit this breaking point, and it's like, oh shit, it just doesn't recover the same, man. Your body has to put so much into that it just doesn't know how to take care of itself after a while. It's tough.
And then Aldo versus Devashali. I gotta go with Aldo. Aldo's only 35. It feels like he's 50 years old in fight years.
Yeah.
Because we've been watching him since he was 19.
Yeah.
But, he's 35, he's still got it. He can still do it. And especially at 35, he's always looks
getting better.
Good. Yeah, he looks good. His
Marab's
stock
not going to be
never
able to
really goes down.
Him.
Most people thought he beat Marlon. I thought he beat Marlon Moraes.
So
Marlon Vera.
I like Aldo in a 5-round fight against Merab. I don't like it in a 3-round fight.
Yeah, Merab's pretty fucking explosive.
Merab is pretty good at just grinding the fuck out of people.
Exactly. And he's good at winning rounds.
So I think
Aldo wins rounds in a very different way.
I think this is going to look like Burns versus Wonderboy.
Could. Very well could.
I mean, I don't know if Aldo still has the timing for those knees up off the cage and stuff like that.
I will say that
he has very tight hands. He can
especially at featherweight.
He has great uppercut timing. So maybe he can wear Merab down. I think Aldo's smart enough to know Merab. He's gonna have to find his best shot on the entry.
I think it's BJJ Scout has a video about the underrated takedown defense of Jose Aldo.
Oh no, he has great.
And I think he has some of the best 145.
But I also think Merab can just hold him on the cage. Yeah. And Merab's not opposed to holding a motherfucker
I wish we would have got to see... If Conor would ever came along, we may have gotten to see Aldo versus Khabib at 55. They may have been able to coax him into that fight. The greatest 145er of all time versus the greatest 155er of all time. When there was going to be a short notice... I think, if I'm remembering correctly, there was going to be a short notice Jose Aldo Khabib situation. I think it was when Max ended up fighting Khabib. Jose was on the short list.
No, Max was supposed to fight Khabib, but then he didn't.
Oh, right, yes.
So he still fought Ally Quinta that week.
Yes, yes.
But
when they were matchmaking that, it was Aldo was on that short list.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm misremembering, you guys can probably message me and let me know, but... I remember being much more intrigued by that than I was Max Holloway versus Khabib because I was like, Aldo's got those fucking knees, and he can really send them down the pipe when he thinks somebody's going to dive. And back then, Khabib was really one-dimensional in the way that he would get to you. He would just kind of Frankenstein walk at you. I remember the other night you were teaching class and you were like, Khabib, you were like, you want to do this. You want to do this, post on their head. You don't want to do this,
right?
But that's how Khabib got down. But he would just take shots on the way in and not give a fuck.
And he would mummy guard his way in and just be like, okay, punch, enter in. But he was that good and that strong where he knew to enter and he could enter and squeeze at the same time and really just suck people into him. And then he could wrestle bear.
He wrestled bear.
And he would wrestle bear. Yeah, he was just, Khabib just knew what he was good at, so he stuck to it. But yeah, I think he would have mollywalked Aldo. I think it would have been like a playground. Like it'd been like watching a 5th grader fight a 1st grader.
Yeah, I would have.
I like you know. It's
honestly,
like,
though, I would have preferred that to fucking Al Quinta, though.
Yeah,
I can't believe that's a fight that's on Khabib. Conflict 53 going down in Charleston, as always, in the Low Country. They are using the numerical denomination for this because there's been those 2 collaborative events that they did with NFC and Aries FC. So this will officially be labeled Conflict 53, Conflict Ladies Night. But before the ladies get started, there are a couple of fights on the undercard that feature male fighters. Josh Collins, who we've seen on 2 of these previous Conflict shows now. Once victorious, I believe. Last time out versus a really young guy, too.
Oh, the Icebox guy, right?
Yeah, Icebox MMA's, yeah.
Man, I'm having the hardest time reading this right now. Like,
just,
I love you, Jared, or maybe this is a translation, but there's like...
It'll be easy to read on a sheet. It's just because you're on a cell phone. Yeah,
I'm on a cell phone, and my eyes don't like the contrasting colors.
I mean, really, we don't know a lot of these guys, so I just wanted to mention them a few, like, really quickly. Fernando Hernandez from Charleston, Muay Thai.
So much fun to watch.
Taking on Dylan Baker. Full rules Muay Thai, MMA gloves.
It was small gloves. And, okay, this is going to be a really fun fight to watch. Fernando is a game dude. He trains in jorts and fights in bare knuckle.
That's true.
As
some are known to do.
Yes.
Oh wait, no, you're thinking of. You're thinking of the other guy from Charleston.
Wait, this young kid.
Roberto Armas.
That's Roberto.
Fernando's the really long, lanky young kid.
Fernando, amazing elbows. It'll be really fun to see what elbows. I got my fighters mixed up. Sorry, but look out for Roberto too. That guy's fucking fun to watch. Fernando will
have that double armbar on Conflict 49.
Dude, that was wild. But no, Fernando has great elbows. We
saw him fight on Conflict 50, I think.
And I think that, with Jeff Grady, who does help train some people for MMA, I think he's going to be pretty aware of like the ability to manipulate people's guards when you can use your hands more.
Yeah,
it's pretty well known with like Thai boxing gloves. Like you can use your hands like a lobster claw. You can hook onto the arm and pull the arm over to the elbow. You can hook onto the wrist, the thumb of the glove. But when you have like a full grip, you can really push, pull, and manipulate and really pull the forearms off and rip elbows. So I think that he's going to have some fun guard splitting elbows. Yeah,
especially with Muay Thai in the cage. Wasn't it Lion Fight that used to do the small gloves Muay Thai in the cage? Who was it that did that?
No, John Wayne Parr started his own promotion for that. One FC still does that. Yes. All of One FC's Muay Thai fights are small gloves.
Yes.
Their kickboxing matches are big gloves, but all their Muay Thai fights are small gloves. And it also presents like there's nowhere to hide from the elbows. So you can really see Fernando, I think, having a great showing for this rule set.
Yeah, and then, that's pretty much the only things I really want to talk about on the undercard. If you're having trouble reading the spreadsheet, you can go to Conflict's Instagram. They have a poster of the main card that might be a little bit easier for you to dissect.
Yeah. Wait, you said on the
Conflict Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so there's like 10 women's fights? That's awesome.
Yeah, 10 women's fights.
He's at the Conflict Instagram?
Yeah. The first women's fight of the night is going to be Melissa Sheppy versus Stephanie Kaufroth. And the only reason I bring this fight up is because I have seen Melissa Sheppy before. I've commentated, I think, 2 of her grappling matches previously for Carolina Combat League. Mm-hmm. So I know her primarily as a grappler. And this is going to be a K1 kickboxing affair. So maybe she's trying to gear herself up for an MMA type journey.
No, Melissa Sheppy's already fought MMA.
Oh, she has? Okay.
Wait, if this is the right girl I'm thinking of, let me pull up that bout card. She trains what?
I think she's out of Guyton, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Melissa Sheppy. No, she's out of Team Rock Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah, no, she's had a couple
MMA fights.
MMA fights. Okay. Yeah. No, she's already fought. Like that's why I was like, wait, I couldn't see her on the Conflict one. The Conflict has just the kickboxing, but no, this is so this is a kickboxing match for her.
Yeah, it'll be K1 rules.
Yeah, no, so she's already had some MMA fights.
It is 180 pounds, so it's pretty. It's pretty up there for a women's fight. You don't get to see too many K1 kickboxing rules fights at that class. Let's see, who else is on here?
We got our homie Nikki Blocker.
I was about to say, Nikki Blocker is on here versus a girl from Atlanta, Georgia. She's not fought since Conflict 49, I don't think.
What? Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. I don't think she's done... I haven't seen her post about any tournaments or anything. I know Amy's been very active since then, and so obviously so has Anna, but I think Nikki took a break and came back for this ladies' night fight.
Yes. Yeah, she's usually also like one of the ring card girls. We're also going to witness male ring card girls. So
ring card men.
Ring card guys.
Ring card dudes.
Dudes, lads.
I think one of them's Amy's boyfriend. And let's see, Jeremy. I can't remember who else.
Jeremy's a savage.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think this is a great idea.
I think it's hysterical. Yeah, it's great.
I brought this up to Jared as soon as he mentioned doing an all-girls card. I remember saying, like, oh, I think it was Conflict 50 the night we were there. He said the next one we do in Charleston is going to be all-female. So I think he's been planning this
for a while.
Yeah. And I remember being like, dude, you got to have ring card guys. And he's like, he laughed it off and was like, I don't think so. And then I saw the post that they were doing it. I think it was Amy shared it. And I replied and I was like, yes, I was hoping this was the case. And she was like, yeah, I pressured him into it.
I'm going to put money in Jeremy's pants. I'm going to do it.
Amy Peduto is also fighting on this card, is she not?
She is.
Yes.
She is taking on Julie Cohen, very experienced fighter.
Isn't that who Anna fought?
That's also who Anna fought.
Yeah, okay, so Anna fought her within the last couple years at that first Conflict show that we commentated, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that was where Anna won the title.
Yeah,
so
Anna was just hitting all levels, head, body, legs, ripping body shots over and over.
I would say the one advantage you're going to have what would you say, if anything, is Julie Cohen's advantage going into that match with Amy?
With Amy, I think it could be a slight advantage to elbows and clinch timing. You know,
Amy's not quite as long as Anna.
Not as quite as long. She has great combinations, great hand to low kick combinations.
She's a scrapper.
Great pressure, great fucking scrapper. But she does, she will open up before she fires. If Julie can post and elbow her way in, she could possibly get some cuts. I could still see Amy out-voluming and out-pressuring. Like, you cannot get Amy off of
And I imagine her physical strength.
Because, like, here's the thing. Amy doesn't have to go in that close. She doesn't have to run into Julie's clinch. I think Amy, for someone that is shorter, she knows how to fight at her range.
She's also strong, physically
very
strong. So
strong.
I can't imagine it's going to be very easy to just hold her in a plump.
So I think that she could be, if Julie Cohen can't counter her way into that clinch, she's going to have a rough time. In the sense that I can see Julie getting kind of like battered left and right, and Amy moving her around the cage with combinations. I think that Julie could also find her way into knees and elbows. And she would really, really have to outwork Amy in the clinch. I'm excited to fight. Fights always go either way. But I can definitely see Amy kind of having more horsepower throughout this fight.
Amy, previous opponent was the Bonesaw, Wendy Anunson.
She had a fight in between then. She went out to Missouri and had a great title fight.
Yeah, I just meant a previous opponent of hers is also on this show.
Wendy Anunson. Oh, there's Melissa Sheffield.
We were talking about Wendy last week, I think, and we were like, definitely one of the top MMA female prospects in this area.
Oh, and one of the busiest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anyone who stays as active as far as like local fighters than Wendy. It really does feel
her
like
husband Kelly's also comes from like the ATD background. He's run a gym in Reno before. And,
it's not surprising
always
to me.
On the road.
It's certainly not surprising to me that we would have that.
No, yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't know too much about Addie Bellinger. Did you find anything on her?
No, I didn't look up her record yet. She is from the Michigan area, so this is actually this is the Conflict MMA 125 title. So, her teammate Cam Sandoval came out and won the title last time he was at Conflict. So now, he won the title at Fight For It. He had fought like 2 weeks earlier at Conflict and was also a victorious there as well. Addie Bellinger has fought on mostly XFC shows, Big John's MMA show. She looks like she's got a couple of kickboxing fights. A couple wins by KO, actually. And there's 4-2 with 2 of those by KO and 2 by decision. And she also has 1 win in kickboxing. as well.
Solid matchup.
Yeah, very solid matchup. Anunson, I think, is just a little too hot right now. She's got a lot of momentum behind her. She's on a winning team with a lot of winners that have belts, and now she's coming to collect one right now.
Absolutely.
Obviously, I'm not
and
saying
she's just a woman on a mission, and it shows in her training and
absolutely
and how much she does compete.
Her last loss was at Showcase MMA, 5/29/2021. Since then, she's had 3 fights, and they've all been pretty one-sided. Win armbar, win KO, win rear naked choke. No, not leaving it up to the
Had
judges.
an amazing scrap with Amy Peduto.
Yeah, and that was in, was that Muay Thai rules? That was full Muay Thai rules, right? When they fought, or was it K1? I want to say it was Muay Thai.
I want to say it was Muay Thai as well.
I think they went, I remember them going no headgear.
Yeah.
So I want to say...
Can't remember them having elbow pads on or not.
I can't either. I know that maybe it was only Anna that fought full Muay Thai that night. But yeah, I think that Anunson is someone you got to keep your eyes on. Also fighting out of that Charleston gym will be Kayla Hennessy, who we saw on the last Conflict card too, I believe.
Yes. She's coming off of, I believe, like it was, I can't remember if they said it was a split decision loss, like at that on Walker Vivian's kickboxing card, but
Not too long ago.
Not too long ago, but that was definitely a fight that I thought that Kayla kind of got her hand, she should have gotten her hand raised. I'm not sure, but I remember, I think there was like something about that. I can't remember if it was a loss, but I definitely remember her having a very good showing on Walker's card.
Yeah.
And she is a fucking scrapper. And she is taking on Amanda Hedberg from Against the Grain MMA. Some of these MMA gym names.
You got to get creative. They're running out. You know, in the 90s it was really easy. You could just be called like Team Blue MMA or something like that, and nobody has it. But now there's
Missing Tooth.
Now there's 15, Team Doghouse MMAs or whatever. So you got to like get a little.
You know what? I'm fucking. I just changed my gym name to Hometown MMA, so it would sound more just fucking.
Like it's been there for 30 years.
Yeah,
this is a gym name that sounds like it's been in the area
it's
for
been
30
here
years.
Forever.
Yeah,
No, just the coach has.
I can't believe no one's taken Oak City Mixed Martial Arts or Oak City BJJ.
You know what? I didn't think.
I can't believe no one's taken that.
Fuck.
Shit! I already started a business.
Shit! Fuck, man. I already started the business. Damn.
Oh, maybe next time. Let's see. There are some interesting travelers here. Chantelle Perry coming all the way from Austin, Texas to take on Anna Toole. I assume that's going to be the main event, as Anna Toole is known as Miss Conflict MMA around those
Queen
parts.
of Charleston.
Definitely the Queen of Charleston. Definitely the carry the flag person from Charleston Muay Thai. They all carry that flag.
Yeah.
But in terms of the go-to person that people think of when they think of Charleston Muay Thai, after Jeff Grady, they probably think of Anna. And I can only assume this will be the main event of the evening. But man, they had to go far out of pocket to find her someone to fight.
But
this time.
You know what? Kudos to Jared. That's why Conflict is growing like it is, because they will also bring in competition for their local people.
And as Anna has been more and more impressive,
hey, Anna's also someone that will fly to New York, Florida, and all over to go fight.
Exactly.
She's fought in Thailand. So she's no stranger to traveling as well. It's just great to see Jarrett bring in someone to fight. Like it's tough. Hey, Julie Cohen is coming down from New York again. So kudos to him for always bringing someone.
So this Chantelle Perry, I can't find any record on her, but she has fought on Glory 43, and it looks like she's fought a couple times in events that are registered to the Muay Thai World Expo. So she's registered to the Muay Thai World Expo fights. There's pictures online of her holding multiple belts. So I assume she's a multi-division or multi-organizational champion. So I think that as Anna has gotten better and better, she's had to kind of raise that level of competition. She's always looking for the harder fight.
She gets better,
right?
because she's always looking for a better fight. They will literally fight anybody you put in front of them. That's why she does keep getting better. Like, her record has wins and losses, but each loss, when you look at her, is still her getting better. Some losses are setbacks for people, but not her. She just gets better. She has fought a couple times against Charsley Manor, who is the one that stopped Wendy in her last MMA fight. And Charsley is someone who has now won multiple golds through IFMA and, the only person that's really beaten Anna has been Charsley recently. You know, so she's definitely learned from those losses and she improves. But man,
so interesting how Amy and Anna are like best friends and like they fight the same opponents. It's like they keep sharing opponents
but that's the fight game right now.
It is. We were talking about it last. Me and Talia were talking about it yesterday or Monday when I was at your class. I was like, it's the scene is so small here. Her and Sasha, even though they had trained together in the past, they fought. Now Leilani and Sasha are going to fight, and it's like those are 3 girls that live 15 minutes away from each other, and have trained together multiple times. But because the women's fight scene up here compared to Charleston is so small, I mean, even in Charleston, there's pretty much only that one real gym that's notorious for having lots of female fighters. But you look at the number of fights that they get and who they're fighting, and it's like, man, why can't we have more events like that in North Carolina? Hopefully, with the commission being reformed, we'll have a little bit of life breathed into the scene here, so there'll be more than 4 girls looking for a fight.
Yeah, no shit.
Poor Jillian, Sasha, Talia.
Well, no, I mean, like Jillian and Nikki have fought. They've also trained together.
That's true. Yes, that was like Jillian's first kickboxing fight, right? Or second?
Yeah, first.
Okay.
And then Jillian's going to have a kickboxing match October 1st.
At Walker Vivian's?
At Walker Vivian's.
Yeah, I'm planning on being there for sure.
And then, Talia and Jillian are both going to be taking boxing matches just to stay active. Mm-hmm. So. But
lots
it's
of,
like
lots of Charleston.
You got to get a fight wherever you can if you're fighting in North Carolina, is like what I tell people. Compete in whatever the fucking you can.
Right now, especially the past 2 years, 3 years, it's like, you think about people.
I tell people like, hey, if you want to do combat jiu-jitsu or sambo, fucking do it. So you can do something. 21
years old when the pandemic started. Now they're like midway through their 20s, and it's like that's prime years of fucking fighting and training that have just gone by. So if you weren't taking those fights,
it's been the constant curse of the Carolina fight scene.
It's been a tough.
Well, at least North Carolina.
Charleston also has Audrey Mackiston and Kristen Gifford. I think they're newer to us fighters. I'm sure they have tournament experience.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
I'm sure they have a lot of fighting experience, but I don't think they've fought on any of the.
No, they definitely have IKF experience.
So this will be their first fight night type of fight, I think. So
I'm
sure
you have Haley Lowry from Greensboro.
I was going to say she's kind of local to us too. I would say that at this point in the fight scene, an hour and a half away is local to us.
Yeah.
We were
she's
talking
over in Greensboro. I know her trainer Lamont, good dude. Mm-hmm. More of like a very American kickboxing base. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Greensboro is one of those cities that's it's coming along. It's only as big as Cary. It's only slightly bigger than Cary, I think. Mm-hmm. But compared to when I first started doing this 5 years ago, the amount of gyms there has tripled.
Oh, yeah.
You have Justin Mitchell there. You have Octagon MMA is still out there. You have this gym that Haley's found. And now Battleborn's not far. No. And Battleborn's probably the craziest facility out of all of them in terms of the talent you could.
There's also Team Primal, which is one of the hardest going motherfucking gyms. Those dudes I'm just like, oh shit. Yeah. I never know what you're going to see.
They always are those guys. Team Primal, whenever I see their name on a Fight For It card, they usually are always bringing a guy who's 0-0.
Yeah.
And it's just a guy who goes so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh wow, 0-0 guy that is this out for blood. That must be how they get down to the gym.
Just how they get down to the gym. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now we got a kiss. No, yeah.
It's only for our Patreon.
Brian Miller teaches jiu-jitsu out there. It's exploded out there. This is going to be really cool to call an all-women's fight card. I think there's something really badass about that with how fast women's martial arts and women's combat sports competition has just exploded. Because I remember when it wasn't a thing. This is amazing to see.
After the night is over, we're going to probably need to buy couple ciders for Jeff Grady because he is going to be busy at this one.
Oh yeah, how many does he have? He has 15 fights. He has close to 10 actually.
Honestly. Honestly, he's almost in every fight. He's going to get a couple maybe short breaks, and he's going to hope that those fights don't have early finishes maybe, so he can go to the bathroom, get a sip of water or something like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Plus he's got 7. Fernando.
Yeah, so he has 7 guys.
Crazy. It's a crazy night for him. But that's how they like it over there.
Yeah.
If you look at Jeff Grady's Instagram this week, he's fired up for the show. And so are all the girls from Charleston Muay Thai and Fernando, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been really awesome to see Jeff Grady's growth from like when he has started. Because I remember before he started Charleston Muay Thai, and he was just working at a title boxing gym. And I met him at Chris we met at a seminar at Chris Clodfelder's gym in Winston-Salem years ago. And it's when I think it was like Anna Toole's one of her first exposures to like other Muay Thai gyms. Like she had just transitioned from like bad work classes. Like Jeff was like, "Hey, you kick that hard? You should do Muay Thai." And she just went, "Okay." And like I met them around that time, and it's been wild to see the growth of Muay Thai in Charleston.
And he's basically solely responsible.
And he's solely responsible for it.
I mean, he cultivated that thing.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's been a great teamwork between him and Jared. And I think like what's done such a...
And Anna.
And Anna. And like Jared's done the great thing. And Jeff has also been like, "Hey, bring us tough competition. Like, we'll do our part.
And we'll put on fights.
He's like we'll have my guys ready for fights. We will sell the fucking tickets. We'll be there and we'll fucking fight. And like bring us hard competition to fight. And we're there. And man, they have built something special there.
Yeah, I
and he really kind of has like that scene locked down because like, what other Muay Thai gyms do you hear about in Charleston? There's boxing gyms.
It would discourage me if I even was thinking about it. You know, I would be hesitant to open any kind of MMA gym in Charleston because of how established the gyms that are there are.
Yeah, I mean, he helps train Winston Ramos, who fights in ONE FC, and I was like, man, that's a pretty scary matchup. Like,
didn't he also train Luke Sanders? You remember him? Luke Sanders, Becky Lynch's ex-boyfriend, the white guy with cornrows.
Damn, I think so.
He fought a couple times in the UFC. I don't know if he's still fighting anymore, but I think I remember Jeff and him being in pictures. Yeah, he's kind of one of those guys that's like really forgettable, except for the fact that he dated Becky Lynch. I mean, that's a huge asterisk. I mean, you might not have
no idea who Becky Lynch is.
Oh, she's like the biggest female wrestler, WWE girl.
Oh, really?
I was next to like Charlotte Flair.
Like my head was like, I know who Charlotte Flair is, but like my head, I was like,
she's Charlotte Flair's big rival.
I was like, is she one of them TikTokers? I don't know.
Big time Bex. She's basically her gimmick is she's Girl Connor. So I mean, she's an Irish lass, and she just punches Charlotte Flair for a living. I mean, I think that's she's wrestled Charlotte Flair like 80 times in main events. So I mean, dating her is a pretty big star next to your name, especially if you never even fought on a main card in the UFC and you were on the undercard. That's
it was probably right time.
That's making the most out of your UFC run right there is what I like to call it. So I think
if you're gonna peak.
I think Luke Saunders might have trained with Jeff a little bit too. I feel like I am recalling a picture of them together. But anyway, I think that this whole card is a testament to how far women's combat sports have come on the East Coast in the Carolinas. I mean, to think about a place like South Carolina doing this before NC, anybody in NC did it, is huge too. It's a props to Jared. It's a props to Jeff and the people in that
I really
area.
haven't seen any cards like this except for like Invicta. Like I've been to a lot of fights like Georgia, Florida, West Virginia.
But you think about
DC, like I haven't seen
Fight Lab, and you think about Fight For It when we were commentating Fight For It together, and how many women's fights there were on that. If that would have been allowed to continue and keep growing, I'm sure Fight For It would have done an all-female card
100%.
Eventually.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's just that Jared has the right city, the right fighters, and the right people to make up a majority female card, and they're pulling the trigger on it as soon as they could. I mean, he was talking about it almost like half a year ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he had this vision for it, and it's coming to fruition on August 27th in 1 week. There won't be an episode next week because I'll be in Honduras, so that's why we're previewing the show this week. So cross our fingers that no fights fall out in between here
and there. Man, this is a solid fight card.
When it comes to women, you can almost always rely on them to not pull out, not always miss weight, or make weight rather, but they very rarely will pull out for like a sprained ankle or something like that, you know? Or like feeling nauseous the week of the fight. And
you see it with dudes.
I was talking about it with Cody, my coach at Elevate, and I was like, it's always women that are down to fight injured, and it's always women that are down to fight former training partners or friends even. Like most female fighters that I know could be roommates with a girl, and they're like, yeah, I'll fight her, at 115 on this night, and then after the fight they'll go right back to being buddies. I mean, a week after Talia and Sasha fight, they were training together at Elevate Open Mat. So I mean, that's just how women get down. They do their business, they get it done, and then it's back to business as usual. Casual friendship, mutual respect from professionalisms.
Yeah, there's always some drama with the dudes.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying that if a heavyweight dude went from Embrace, let's just say for the sake of naming a gym, let's say a guy from Embrace goes to Elevate and spars one day with the people there, and then doesn't come back, and 2 weeks later he gets a call for a fight offer from a guy from Elevate. He's gonna say no. He's gonna be like, no, I train with those guys.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. That's just how it is for male fighters, because they can have that luxury of being like, well, another fight's going to come along. They'll offer somebody else. Dalton has been offered Kevin Satterfield, I'm sure, 3 or 4 times, and has turned him down. Which, that's a little bit more understandable because they've trained together a lot more. But I'm saying that most guys are going to be like, I can wait. Yeah. I'll just wait for another opponent.
Yeah,
whereas women are like, yeah, absolutely. They're going to say yes. And especially the Charleston Muay Thai team, they have a say yes to anything type of mentality when it comes to rule sets, weight classes, exception, little gloves in the cage, bull, Muay Thai, whatever the conditions are, they're usually very apt to say, yeah, let's do it. So, before we go, did you watch any Christina Ferreira boxing videos? Bruce Taylor Starr. That's the other fight that is going down.
I was supposed to fucking... I didn't do my homework. I did my seminar instead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's an understandable reason.
I knew it. I was like, what did I forget?
I think that the consensus online is that, Ferreira is going to win using with the technical edge and the experience edge. I think that Taylor is a little smaller, and I think that Taylor is wilder. But Taylor also has a talent for creating fights that are not technical.
Yes.
She has a talent for taking people out of their technical game and putting them into a fist fight.
She does a great job of just staying in a motherfucker's face and just being there. Even if she's losing, she's I've seen her in kickboxing matches where she can't get past a person's low kicks. She will literally try to jump at a motherfucker and try and hit them.
Yeah, she is so scrappy. So I think that's her shot to victory. She has to make it a scrap with Ferreira.
She has to get Ferreira to swing so then she can go to her jabs.
Tony Loco Soto also fighting
on
that card. Joshua Wright, I can't remember his opponent's name, but he KO'd his opponent in inside 2 rounds in his last BKFC fight. So it's interesting to see him kind of be, in my opinion, kind of as a fighter, underbooked and under-respected in NC to getting signed with BKFC, and probably signed because I know he went to several tryouts. So it's he gets signed and they're probably yeah, we'll give this guy a shot. And every time he's gone out, he's put on a crazy fucking fight.
Yeah, but that's Tony.
And that's how Tony gets down. Yeah. But we all knew that.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of guys said no to him in the past. A lot of guys said no to fighting him in MMA or whatever the case may be because of that. He did do boxing for a little while, and that's kind of what got him going towards bare knuckle.
He's done boxing, kickboxing, and he doesn't give a fuck.
He is so fucking game. He is so game. I feel like he's kind of really figuring out a style for bare knuckle that is playing to his strengths as a boxer in a big way. So I'm hoping that he can get another finish as well. But that being said, is there anything else you want to say about Conflict before we get out of here?
Yeah,
just that I couldn't be more excited to be there. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't be more excited to be going back to the festival hall and seeing Conflict once again. I mean, it is the best show from a spectacle standpoint, from a production standpoint. It feels like an Icon fight night. When we watched Icon on TV, when we watched Bo Nickel fight, I was like, this looks just like Conflict setup.
Yeah.
It doesn't look any different. They just have a little bit more money. A little bit more. They have more angles.
I'm excited because A, I love live fights, and B, I love how they run their show.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we will be there calling the action cage side. You can get you can get tickets to Conflict 53 if you're in the Low Country area, or if you want to make the drive. It's only about 3 or 4 hours from Raleigh. And there's no fight nights going on around here. So if you want to see live fights, that is your best ticket. But you can always catch it on pay-per-view as well. There will be a description to the pay-per-view in the YouTube video. Otherwise, you can look it up on Conflict social media on Instagram or Facebook. That being said, guys, until you see us again, which will be after Conflict 53, enjoy yourselves and the fights.
What you got going on September 10th?